Hi, my name is Tiffany Higgins, and today I'll be speaking on an imaginary student named Charlie, who is 4 years old, who is about to attend kindergarten, and his IEP for his accommodations, as well as any breakdown of any devices that he would need or anything of that nature. So this video would be essentially me talking to his parents about his IEP. Again, hi, my name is Tiffany Higgins, and today we'll be talking about Charlie's IEP. In his IEP, I have listed that he's a 4-year-old student who is currently in his second year of preschool, but will be transitioning to kindergarten come the fall. He has cerebral palsy and was diagnosed at 18 months old and has been receiving services at home since he was 2 years old. His eligibility for an IEP is orthopedic impairment, which cerebral palsy falls up under, as well as speech and language impairment, as he only speaks in 2-word sentences. Some of his strengths are that he can identify 17 out of 26 letters, as well as he can identify numbers 1 through 10. He uses a speech device to communicate his wants and needs, as well as points at things in addition to his 2-word sentences. He is in a wheelchair, and he currently wears a diaper and needs assistance in feeding himself, as well as cutting and gluing items, but can hold a larger size pencil or marker, just not the standard size pencils or markers. Is extremely independent, able to bunny hop when not in his wheelchair to get around, but does show signs of shutting down when assignments are considered too hard for him, as well as frustration when he's unable to communicate as quickly as he would like to be able to. As his preschool teacher or kindergarten teacher, I am recommending that he is not placed in a gen ed classroom, only because of the severity of his disabilities, needing to have assistance being fed and needing a wheelchair, as well as being in a diaper, and the inability to form complete sentences would make it a little harder. Although his parents are extremely involved and would like for him to be in a general education class, it is imperative that we focus on what would be best for him and not necessarily what the parents or a teacher would want for him to have. And I think a MOID or a self-contained class would be better equipped for him in ensuring that he progresses in his goals. Some of the goals that we have for his IEP is that he will be able to identify 22 of the 26 letters of the alphabet, as well as be able to identify numbers 1 through 20 by the end of the school year. He'll be doing that via visual aids to assist him, as well as he will be pulled out daily for ELA and math, or a teacher would push into the classroom for ELA and math to ensure that he's getting the small group help that he needs in order to potentially one day go to a gen ed class. Another goal that we would have for him is he will improve his ability to grasp and manipulate writing tools such as pencils and markers to complete age-appropriate writing and drawing with minimal physical assistance by the end of the school year, as well as independence in navigating the classroom and participating in physical education activities with the support of his wheelchair and physical therapy strategies by the end of the school year. So he's already currently in a wheelchair, but the goal is to make sure that he becomes more independent, and not necessarily have to have somebody constantly pushing him around. As I had stated earlier, he enjoys his independence and being independent. Those services would more than likely be provided by an occupational therapist, which he would see twice a week. Some of the accommodations would be wheelchair-friendly desk, as well as extra time for things that would require him to use his fine motor skills. Another goal is his oral language and communication. He will increase his use to 3-word sentences to express his needs and wants by the end of the school year. And a speech pathologist would be able to work with him in that. And they do have speech pathologists in the school. So she would either, as I said, push in or pull him out in order to get that information, as well as progress monitor to see how well his vocabulary is coming and how he's putting those sentences together. Another would be his social emotional state. Although he gets along very well with all of his classmates and all of his teachers, it has been noted that he shuts down when things get harder, the assignments get harder, as well as when he's not able to participate fully with the other students as they are more able-bodied than he is. So the accommodations would be extended time to complete assignments, as well as possibly modifying the classroom so that he can be able to maneuver around a little more, maybe without the wheelchair, kind of modifying some activities for him. And an adaptive behavior would be he would be able to improve his ability to feed himself 45% of the time by the end of the school year, as well as he would be able to participate independently with other classmates 80% of the time. And that would also, like I said, be done with those modifications of maybe changing some of the participation aspects of a game or something like that to make sure that he is included with his able-bodied peers. And that would be done by a physical therapist to help with those modification strategies, as well as any physical therapy strategies. Back to his oral language and communication, he does have a speech device which he uses to communicate. So that would be preloaded with additional vocabulary to assist him. As his vocabulary increases, that device can be updated so that he's able to communicate further with everyone, essentially causing him less stress and more independence, and the ability to be included in things more. When going to lunch or the playground, and being in a MOI classroom or a self-contained classroom, those students don't necessarily go to the cafeteria, at least not in the beginning of the school year. The teachers tend to get the lunches and bring them back to the classroom because being in the cafeteria can be overstimulating, as well as not all cafeterias are equipped with wheelchair accessible tables for students, as most cafeterias now have the built-in stool chairs for the students to sit in, and not necessarily pull-out chairs for the students to sit in. As well as having someone feed you in front of your able-bodied peers in a general education class could be looked at as embarrassing, especially because he is so independent and wants to be so independent. So that is also why it was a suggestion for a MOI classroom, because he wouldn't be on his own. He wouldn't be alone in being the only person who needs these modifications and things of that nature. Going to the playground, they do go to physical activity and art and things like that, and they participate in field days and things of that nature. But they have their own separate section of it. So no, they're not completely isolated in the school. They do participate, especially with the kindergartners, because they're more along the lines mentally, a lot of them in the same arena. And so they're able to do more in that aspect, and they're still going along with their peers. It's just that for educational purposes, they aren't necessarily in that class. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't go to that class at some point in their life. Any teacher will be able to communicate anything with you, as well as the annual IEP meeting that is held with the IEP team, which is the a general education teacher, the special education teacher, speech pathologist, occupational therapist, any person that he receives services from would be on that meeting to be able to communicate any goals and hear your perspective on any things that you're observing at home, or anything that you would like to see or improvement, or things that you don't feel are being improved upon. Those are all things that can be discussed at an annual IEP meeting. And I think that's pretty much it. But of course, they are excited to have Charlie come to kindergarten at our school, and whether he is placed in a general education class or in a MOID classroom, I know that with all of the services that we provide, as well as all of the assistance from his very involved parents, that he will do everything that he needs to do to become a successful student, as he is already essentially ahead of the game, because only 40% of kindergartners go into kindergarten knowing 17 of 26 letters, as well as being able to identify numbers 1 through 10. So he's already ahead educationally. So very good on you, Charlie. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a good one.